They say the universe doesn't whisper, it pulses like a sacred drumbeat behind the veil of the ordinary, and sometimes what looks like a mere thread is actually a signal, a signature, a secret embedded in plain sight. Imagine walking past someone on the street and noticing a thin red string tied around their left wrist. You might think nothing of it, just a bracelet, maybe a fashion statement. But what if that string isn't a decoration, but a doorway? What if it has been worn for thousands of years, not because it's pretty, but because it holds a resonance, an ancient current of spiritual electricity woven into human memory? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to uncover is not only mysterious, it's transformational. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel now, because we go beyond surface truths. What we do here is dive beneath the current of reality to find the hidden roots. The red thread is one of those roots. And once you see what it truly is, you may never see your own path or your energy the same way again. Across centuries, across continents, the red string has shown up in rituals, myths, and secret traditions. In Kabbalistic teachings, it's said to protect against the evil eye. In Hindu culture, a similar thread is tied during sacred ceremonies. In Buddhism, red threads are sometimes given as blessings. But these stories only hint at something deeper, something older, like different languages describing the same fire. The red string isn't bound to one religion or nation. It's a symbolic artifact of humanity's lost instruction manual. Worn on the left wrist, known esoterically as the receiving side of the body, it's not just a charm. It's a code, a spiritual antenna. A reminder, for those with eyes to see, that the material world is just the skin of something much larger. We live in a time of profound distraction. The digital age floods our minds with data, opinions, noise. We're constantly connected, but increasingly disoriented. Symbols like the red string offer something rare, a fixed point in the chaos, a visual prayer, a tiny lighthouse on the wrist saying, "Remember who you are. Remember what you are protecting." It speaks to the part of you that's been here before, the part that's older than your name, the part that speaks in symbols, not sentences. The red string is not for decoration, it's for direction. It's a compass sewn into thread, whispering, "There is energy around you and energy within you. Guard it well." But it also calls out something more radical, more dangerous to the illusions that keep people asleep. The red string challenges the invisible contracts we've signed with fear, doubt, and limitation. It says, "You are not just flesh and bone. You are vibration. You are a node in a vast network of spiritual exchange, and your energy is worth protecting." The world teaches us to guard our bank accounts, our passwords, our reputations. But what about our soul, our frequency, our spiritual immune system? That's what the red thread points to. That's what it encodes. It's a quiet rebellion against the forgetting, a thread leading us back to the sacred cave of remembrance. If you trace it far enough, the red string becomes more than a bracelet. It becomes a mirror. It asks, what are you carrying? What are you absorbing? Are you consciously choosing what enters your energy field? Or are you leaving the gates wide open to whatever the world sends your way? In the chapters that follow, we will journey deeper. We'll explore the metaphysical architecture that makes this tiny strand of crimson so powerful. We'll look at its roots in ancient traditions and its branches into quantum ideas of energy transfer, intention, and spiritual sovereignty. You'll come to see that this isn't just folklore, it's physics with a soul. This isn't just about a red string. It's about remembering that every act you take, every object you wear, every word you speak, is a spell, a signal, a code. And if you wear the red thread with the right awareness, you are no longer walking blind through life. You are navigating by ancient light. So if something inside you has always sensed that there's more to this world, that protection isn't just physical, that energy isn't just electricity, and that sacred tools still exist in this modern maze, then you're exactly where you need to be. This red string isn't just a symbol, it's a key. To understand the red thread as more than folklore, more than cultural decorum, is to peer into the unseen architecture that binds intention, energy, and identity. The red string is not passive, it is a vessel. It carries weight, not in ounces or grams, but in resonance. It is the embodiment of an ancient equation: intention plus symbol plus belief equals energetic protection. Let us begin at the left wrist, the so-called receiving side in esoteric traditions. While the right hand is often associated with action, projection, and outward energy, the left is the silent gateway through which the world enters you. In subtle energy teachings, it is through the left side that you absorb emotional frequencies, external influences, even unseen psychic imprints from others. The red string tied there with intention becomes a seal, a declaration that your energy is sacred ground, not open market. We are vibrational beings living in a world of frequency collisions. Every place we go, every person we meet, carries a tone, a field, a waveform. Most of these are invisible, unspoken, but deeply felt. You walk into a room and sense a chill in the air, not from temperature, but from the residue of unspoken conflict. You brush shoulders with someone and feel your mood shift. These aren't accidents, they're transmissions. And what the ancients knew, what the red string quietly encodes, is that unless you shield your frequency, you will become a sponge for the unresolved energies of others. The red string, then, is a spiritual firewall. It's less about superstition and more about sovereignty. It represents conscious participation in the energetic exchange of daily life. It is a decision to protect what enters your field, not out of fear, but out of reverence. In Kabbalistic mysticism, the red string is said to ward off the evil eye, a force of envy, jealousy, or ill intent directed towards someone who is spiritually or materially flourishing. But this so-called evil eye is not just mythological. It is real, energetic, and often unintentional. When someone silently resents your light, even without saying a word, they transmit a distortion into your field. This happens at family dinners, on social media, at work. The red string doesn't stop people from feeling what they feel. It helps you transmute their energy rather than absorb it. But we must go even deeper. Beyond the idea of protection lies the concept of remembrance. The red string is not just shielding, it's signaling. It reminds you constantly that your journey is not random, that your thoughts are electric, your emotions magnetic, that the field around you responds not just to what you do, but to who you are being. This tiny thread becomes a personal altar, always with you, an object that calls your mind back to alignment whenever you begin to drift into unconsciousness. In this way, the red string is both shield and compass, and it echoes something universal: that sacred codes are often hidden in plain sight. Think of prayer beads, sigils, ancient tattoos, or carved runes. The red thread is part of this symbolic lineage. It is a cipher, written in color and form, meant to awaken the user into presence. It also speaks to the law of entanglement. In quantum physics, when two particles become entangled, they remain connected no matter how far apart they are. In spiritual tradition, this idea is mirrored in soul ties, ancestral lineage, karmic threads. The red string, often tied by a loved one or spiritual teacher, becomes a living reminder of your connection to a higher order, a deeper map, an unseen bond. It may link you to your ancestors, to a sacred vow, to a higher version of yourself. And let us not forget the color red. Red is not accidental, it is primordial. It is the color of blood, fire, birth, and urgency. It is the color that calls forth attention, the hue of both danger and divinity. In ancient texts, red often represented life force, prana, chi, ruach, the breath of the divine running through the veins of matter. Wearing red is wearing the frequency of power, vitality, and focus. And a red thread, slender yet unbreakable, tells the universe, I walk the path awake. All of this forms the symbolic infrastructure beneath the red thread. It is not a placebo. It is not a costume. It is an anchor, a spiritual object powered not only by tradition, but by intention. And it does not work for everyone, only for those who choose to activate it with conscious reverence. Like all true tools of power, its strength lies not in its materials, but in the mind and heart of the one who wears it. So when you see someone wearing a red string on their left wrist, you are not just seeing tradition. You are seeing a signature of the awakened. You are seeing a person who has decided, even quietly, to participate in their own energetic protection. To remember, in the midst of the madness, that they are not just a receiver of the world but a generator of their own frequency. The red string is not an ornament. It is a transmission. It is a silent language between the soul and the cosmos. To truly grasp the mystical power of the red string, one must move beyond information and enter the domain of myth, the deep river where truth wears the robe of allegory. For symbols speak in stories, and stories carry frequencies that logic alone cannot hold. The red string has found its way into many tales, not through coincidence, but because its meaning ripples across the collective unconscious like an echo from another world. In one ancient legend from the East, there is the tale of the red thread of fate. It is said that the gods tie a red string around the ankles, or sometimes the wrists, of those who are destined to meet, regardless of time, place, or circumstance. The thread may stretch or tangle, but it will never break. Imagine that. An invisible bond linking souls through lifetimes, wrapped not in chains of control, but in the soft thread of divine orchestration. This story whispers to us that the red string is not just protection from negative energy, it is also a tether to sacred destiny. And yet, there is another tale, quieter, darker, but equally profound. Long ago, in a temple forgotten by time, a young monk was said to have tied a red thread around his wrist after a vision in meditation. He had seen himself walk into a crowd of masked figures, each radiating invisible emotions, anger, sorrow, jealousy, joy, like colored smoke. These emotions drifted toward him, trying to latch on, but in the vision, his red thread glowed with light and formed a protective halo around his body. When he awoke, he tied a crimson thread around his left wrist, vowing to remain spiritually clean in a polluted world. Over the years, his red thread became worn, faded, but it never broke, not once. Even as his robes changed, even as the world around him collapsed and reformed, that thread, they say, remained intact until his final breath. And when his body was burned upon the mountain, the red string would not burn. It was placed inside a shrine, not because of what it was, but because of what it had become. This story is not meant to be taken literally. It is a parable of transformation. It teaches that when you charge an object with conscious devotion, it transcends its physical nature. The thread becomes a relic, and you, the wearer, become a living temple. There's also the story, told in mystic circles, of the weaver priestess. She lived in a remote village where once a year she would create red threads infused with silent chants, each knot symbolizing an ancient name of power. Those who wore her threads said they experienced fewer nightmares, stronger intuition, and a strange sense of calm in hostile spaces. When asked her secret, she only said this: "The string is not the magic. The string is the door. But the door only opens if you remember who you are." That sentence holds the core of this symbol's power. The red string doesn't do something to you. It reminds you of what you do to the world energetically. It is a tool of remembrance, a code sewn with intention, like a sigil you wear close to the heart. From a different dimension, you could imagine the red thread as a line drawn in invisible ink between this world and the higher self, a small, scarlet lifeline connecting you to your spiritual intelligence, your divine operating system, like a cosmic hotline wrapped around your wrist. You don't always hear the message, but the line is always open. And if you let your imagination stretch just a bit further, you might see the red thread not as something given to you in this life, but something you carried into it, a signature from the soul realm, a marker that you are here on mission. It's not that the thread protects you, it's that it reminds you to activate your own protection, your discernment, your inner firewall. It's like wearing a crown invisible to the unawakened eye, or carrying a scroll whose ink is only visible under the right light, soul light. Some say angels wear red sashes in the higher realms to signify guardianship. Others claim the string is symbolic of the umbilical cord to source, a thread we never truly sever but often forget. When worn with awareness, the red string reestablishes the connection, not physically but spiritually, not externally but vibrationally. These stories aren't meant to be verified. They're meant to be felt. They stir something ancient in you because they come from beyond the rational mind. They speak to the part of you that remembers fire without having touched it, that knows the stars without having visited them. And so the red string becomes more than a myth. It becomes a personal legend. Each knot tied into it becomes a pact. Each moment of awareness while wearing it becomes a prayer. The thread becomes an altar that never leaves your body. In this way, you are not merely a wearer of the thread. You are a participant in its story, and its story, in turn, begins to shape yours. We now descend from the mountain of metaphor, carrying with us the quiet fire of realization. But what good is a symbol, no matter how ancient, no matter how sacred, if it does not breathe within your actual life? A spiritual code must not only echo in temples and dreams, it must thread itself into the rhythm of your daily existence, your routines, your conversations, your breath. The red string, then, is not meant to remain a mystical artifact. It is a living reminder, a practical talisman, and a tool of alignment in a world that constantly tries to pull you out of yourself. Wearing it begins with intention, not fashion, not imitation, but an inward gesture, a declaration whispered in silence. I choose to remember. For the red string to work as a spiritual code, it must be activated by your consciousness. It is not a charm to protect you like armor. It is more like a mirror that invites you to walk in integrity. It reminds you that energy is real, that thoughts leave echoes, that emotions are magnetic. It is not magic in the fairy tale sense, it is magic in the quantum sense, resonance, observation, alignment. So, how does one integrate such a symbol practically? First, by wearing it with presence. When you tie the string, or have someone tie it for you, pause, breathe, speak a private intention into the thread. Perhaps you wish to remain energetically clear throughout the day. Perhaps you wish to shield yourself from other people's projections or anxieties. Perhaps you simply wish to stay tethered to your higher self when the noise of the world grows loud. The point is not the words themselves, it is the presence you infuse them with. Every time you glance at your wrist, the red string becomes a checkpoint, a soft alarm, a reminder that you are a being of energy first, flesh second. In moments of doubt, it reminds you to return to your center. In public settings, it helps you scan the room not just with your eyes, but with your frequency. Who drains you? Who lifts you? What conversations feel heavy? What decisions cause your energy to contract? In this way, the red string sharpens your sensitivity. It's not paranoia, it's precision. It teaches you to become energetically literate, to notice what your field is absorbing and transmitting. And slowly, your behavior begins to shift. You start guarding your time more wisely. You begin choosing your words more deliberately. You start noticing how certain music, food, media, or even colors shift your inner state. And you make micro-adjustments, not out of fear, but out of clarity. This is how sacred tools work in modern life, not by making you mystical, but by making you aware. Another practical use of the red string lies in emotional management. During tense situations, arguments, grief, moments of overwhelm, you can place your attention on the thread and anchor your nervous system. It becomes a tactile access point to deeper breath, to energetic shielding. Rub it between your fingers like a rosary. Hold it during meditation. Sleep with it. When charged with meaning, even the simplest actions become sacred rituals. Over time, the string may fray. It may loosen. It may fall off. This, too, is part of its wisdom. In many traditions, when the string breaks or unravels on its own, it is not seen as failure. It is seen as completion. The protection served its purpose. The lesson integrated. It's a spiritual expiration date of sorts, and when it happens, you simply thank it, burn it with gratitude if you wish, and begin again when you feel called. There are those who choose to renew the red string on certain moon phases or during solstices, aligning the thread's cycle with the greater celestial patterns. Others use it as a ritual of release, tying it on after letting go of a toxic relationship, a limiting belief, or an old version of themselves. In this way, the red string becomes not just a shield, but a marker of transitions, a witness to your inner evolution. In the modern world, saturated with distraction, symbols like this become tools of sacred rebellion. They pull you back from the edge. They whisper truths you might forget in the hum of obligations. They turn mundane moments, like brushing your teeth, scrolling your phone, sipping tea, into micro-meditations. Because every glance at that thread invites a question. What energy am I holding? And is it truly mine? The red string is a subtle warrior, hidden in plain sight. It does not shout. It hums. And in that hum, it returns you to a frequency of stillness, sovereignty, and self-trust. It helps you remember that your energy is currency, your presence is power, and your choices are rituals. You begin to walk differently in the world, not because you wear a thread, but because you honor what it means. The journey of the red string is, in truth, the journey of remembrance. It begins as thread, becomes a tool, and eventually transforms into something far more profound, a mirror for the soul's original blueprint. It is both ordinary and extraordinary, humble and sacred. And perhaps that is its greatest lesson, that the divine often hides in simplicity, waiting to be recognized not with the eyes, but with the soul. By now, we have traversed the symbolic landscapes, traced the mythic bloodlines, and touched the practical ways the red string weaves itself into our lives. And yet, the most important part of this journey has nothing to do with the thread itself. It has to do with you, with the one who wears it, with the energy you embody as you move through the world. The red string is not meant to give you something. It is meant to awaken something that was always there, quietly waiting beneath the surface of your awareness. You are not passive clay molded by the world. You are a co-creator, a resonant being, a lighthouse with a heartbeat. The red string is your reminder, your signal flare, your soul's gentle tap on your shoulder saying, "Wake up, stay present, protect what is sacred within you." For in a world that teaches you to guard your passwords more fiercely than your peace, wearing a red thread is an act of quiet revolution. It is the declaration that you refuse to be an unconscious receiver of external chaos, that you choose to walk with intention, shielded not by fear, but by awareness, that your energy, your true currency, is not up for auction. But even more than a shield, the red thread is a vow, a silent agreement between you and the divine, to walk in alignment, to live in tune with the hidden music beneath reality, to honor your own frequency, even when the world pulls you to forget, to guard your inner temple as fiercely as any fortress. And in this act of remembrance, something astonishing begins to occur. You start to transmit, not just protect. You begin to emanate a frequency so clear, so sovereign, that others feel it before you speak. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not because you seek attention, but because your field is anchored, because your presence is a tuning fork that reminds others of their own clarity. This is the highest function of the red string, not merely to protect, but to awaken, to catalyze, to mirror the deeper truth that you are not just surviving life, but shaping it, that you are not just a body walking through matter, but a soul sculpting experience with every thought, every intention, every breath. And if you've worn the red string before or plan to wear it now, do not wear it casually. Charge it, honor it. Let it be the beginning of a new kind of vision, a sight that sees through energy, through meaning, through the illusion of randomness. Let it remind you in every moment, you are not alone. You are not powerless. You are not lost. You are a node in the divine web, vibrating in time with the source. And the red thread? It is simply the cord that connects you back home. So tie it carefully, breathe as you do, speak your truth into it, and walk forward, not as one seeking protection from the world, but as one who remembers the power within to walk through it untouched. The code is not hidden. It's been on your wrist all along.